Tonight, we begin a journey that stretches back beyond memory, beyond kings, beyond temples, beyond the very idea of myth. A journey into the earliest whisper of humanity, and into the story of the Anunnaki. So take a slow breath, let your shoulders relax. Allow your mind to float gently into the soft beginning of human history. Because our story starts in a land where rivers carved civilizations, and where the first written thoughts of humankind were pressed carefully into clay. For detailed geographical and historical sources, see references in the video description. Chapter 1: The Land Between Rivers. Imagine a warm plain beneath an endless sky. Two ancient rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, moving slowly through the earth like veins carrying life. Between them, Mesopotamia, and in its southern cradle, Sumer. Here, over 6,000 years ago, small settlements began to form. No kings yet, no armies, no monuments. Only quiet homes of mud brick and families working the soft, fertile soil. Over centuries, villages grew into towns, and towns into cities. Eridu, Uruk, Lagash, Nippur, the world's first cities, rising from the earth like gentle echoes of a civilization awakening. For archaeological sources on early Mesopotamian settlements, see the description. But Sumer's true uniqueness was not in its bricks, or its walls, or its fields. It was in something quieter. Chapter 2. The first written words. The Sumerians created something no humans before them had ever achieved: writing, not carved on stone, not painted on walls, but pressed into clay with a soft wooden stylus. Tiny, wedge-shaped marks that formed cuneiform, the first writing system in human history. Full cuneiform research sources listed in the description. At first, they wrote simple things: grain, livestock, trade routes. But soon they wrote more. Creation myths, hymns, astronomical observations, mathematics, laws, stories of beings from the heavens. And in these quiet clay tablets, they wrote of figures called the Anunnaki. Chapter 3. Who were the Anunnaki? On the tablets, their name appears calmly, without drama or exaggeration. The meaning is simple: those who came from the sky, or the princely offspring of Anu. They are not described as monsters, or demons, or distant cosmic forces. They are portrayed as teachers, judges, guides, keepers of order, celestial beings connected to the heavens and interwoven with humanity's earliest stories. For references to Enuma Elish, Eridu Genesis, and associated texts, see the description. But to understand them, we must go even further back, to the Sumerian story of how everything began. Chapter 4. Before the gods, the silent waters, before earth, before sky, before wind, there was only water, a quiet, endless ocean. The Sumerians called its freshwater depths Apsu, and the surrounding cosmic waters Tiamat. Together, they floated in peaceful stillness. From this stillness emerged the first divine beings, gentle shapes of energy and light. And from them, a greater god arose, Anu, the serene father of the sky. For detailed references to Sumerian creation myths, see the description. Chapter 5. Anu, the silent father of heaven. Anu is unlike the storm gods of later cultures. He is not loud, not destructive, not fierce. He is calm, a quiet presence, a symbol of cosmic order. He lives in the highest heaven, a realm of pure light and perfect harmony. From Anu came the Anunnaki, beings of purpose, structure, and wisdom, not warriors, but architects of balance. See video description for sources related to Anu and early Mesopotamian cosmology. Chapter 6. The Descent to Earth. The tablets describe a moment when the Anunnaki descended to Earth, not in fire or chaos, but as part of the natural rhythm of the universe. They came to guide, to teach, to establish sacred order. They founded ancient cities: Eridu, the first city; Uruk, the throne of early kingship; Nippur, the spiritual heart of Sumer. These were places where human and divine met gently, without fear. For academic references on early temple cities, see the video description. Chapter 7. The Purpose of Humanity. Unlike many traditions where humans are created from conflict or error, the Sumerian creation story is soft. Humans were shaped intentionally, carefully, with purpose. Not as slaves, but as partners in maintaining the balance of Earth. The Anunnaki taught humans how to irrigate fields, how to read the sky, how to measure time, how to build temples, how to write with symbols. Sources: Samuel Noah Kramer. History begins at Sumer. The relationship was cooperative, a gentle harmony between heaven and earth. Chapter 8. Eridu. The first sacred city. Eridu is known as the oldest city ever built. But to the Sumerians, it was far more than a settlement. It was sacred, the place where divine presence first touched the human world. The tablets say the Anunnaki walked Eridu's early streets, softly, calmly, as teachers among humanity. They taught people to shape rivers, divide land, record dreams, and read celestial movements. Full temple hymn references listed in the description. Eridu was the spiritual foundation of all Sumerian civilization. Chapter 9. Enki, the keeper of knowledge. Among all the Anunnaki, one stood closest to humans: Enki, lord of wisdom and water. He is portrayed not as strict or wrathful, but as patient, gentle, and compassionate. Whenever humanity faced danger, Enki intervened quietly. He taught survival, order, science, craftsmanship, writing. He is the bridge between Earth and the divine realm. For references: Enki and the World Order. See the description. Chapter 10. The First Golden Age. The earliest age of the Anunnaki is described as peaceful, a soft era where humans and divine beings worked together in harmony. Fields thrived, temples rose, knowledge flowed. No war, no chaos. Just a slow, gentle rhythm of life. This era is called the Golden Age, not for wealth, but for unity. But as with all ages, change would come, and the quiet balance of the early world would slowly begin to shift. Chapter 11. The Birth of Cities. When the earliest humans first settled in Sumer, their world was simple: fields, rivers, small homes, and quiet routines shaped by the sun. But over centuries, something remarkable happened. The settlements grew, people gathered, trade expanded, languages evolved, and slowly, the first cities in human history began to rise. The Sumerians built something the world had never seen: urban life, planned, organized, and guided. Among these cities, one became a symbol of human awakening: Uruk. Uruk wasn't just large, it was alive. Its walls stretched for kilometers, its people crafted pottery, brewed beer, wrote poetry, and carved their daily lives into soft tablets of clay. For archaeological information on Uruk's early development, see the reference list in the video description. But Uruk was more than human effort. According to the clay tablets, the rise of cities was guided by a celestial order. Kingship, the tablets say, descended from heaven. This does not mean kings fell from the sky. It means order. The idea of leadership, structure, and law was believed to come from the divine realm. The Anunnaki, in these early texts, are not presented as distant gods watching from above. They are architects of structure, guiding humans toward civilization. The cities were not merely human creations. They were part of a larger design. Chapter 12. Trakiraus ein in I Kaki and Kakuduras Council. As cities expanded, the tablets describe another powerful symbol of order and balance, the Divine Assembly, sometimes called the Council of the Anunnaki. In this celestial council, the great gods met to decide the structure of both heaven and earth. At the center sat Anu, father of the sky, calm, silent, overseeing everything. Beside him, Enlil, god of wind and authority, Enki, god of wisdom and water, Ninhursag, mother of life, Utu, the sun, Nana, the moon, Inanna, lady of the heavens. Together, they formed a council where decisions were not made with thunder or fury, but with purpose. For detailed sources on the Divine Assembly, see the reference list in the video description. This council was not chaotic. It was structured. Each deity with a specific role, a duty, a voice. In the tablets, the Anunnaki Council decides when cities rise, when kings rule, how justice is delivered, how balance is kept. It is described almost like a celestial government, quiet, orderly, stable, a mirror of the order they hope to create on Earth. Chapter 13, Early Human Conflicts. But as cities grew, so did complexity. People began dividing into roles: farmers, priests, merchants, builders, scribes, rulers. And with these new roles came new tensions. The Sumerians wrote about the first disputes: land disagreements, temple rivalries, water rights, accusations of dishonesty. But unlike many later civilizations, the Sumerians believed that justice had cosmic origins. Law, they said, came from the heavens, from the Anunnaki themselves. So when conflicts arose, humans looked upward for guidance. The priests of Nippur played a major role. They interpreted divine signs, read omens, and consulted ancient hymns to understand what the gods desired. For historical analysis of Sumerian priesthood and omens, see references in the description. This era marks the beginning of the human legal system. In cities, small rooms were built where scribes recorded agreements, contracts, marriage arrangements, and property boundaries. The first hints of organized human law were emerging. Quietly, softly, guided by divine order. Chapter 14. Before the Flood. Among the most mysterious tablets ever discovered is one that records the rulers before the Great Flood. This text is known as the Sumerian King List. It lists the ancient kings of Sumer along with the lengths of their reigns. But the early entries defy logic. The first kings are said to have ruled for thousands of years, not 100, not 200, but 7,000, 10,000, even 28,000 years. To the Sumerians, these were not strange numbers. They represented a different era, a divine age, when the boundaries between heaven and earth were thinner. Teachers from the sky walked among humans. Wisdom flowed. Time was measured differently. This age ends abruptly with a single phrase. Then the flood swept over the land. Full academic sources on the Sumerian king list are provided in the video description. After the flood, reigns become shorter. Kings look more human, life becomes more fragile. Something changed, an age closed, and the world entered a new rhythm. Chapter 15, The Silent Tension. In the centuries after the flood, the tablets hint at a quiet tension among the Anunnaki themselves. Not war, not conflict, but differences in vision. Enlil, stern and orderly, believed in discipline, structure, and control. Enki, gentle and wise, believed in compassion, teaching, and protection. These opposing views shape many ancient stories. Enlil represents cosmic law. Enki represents adaptation. Enlil is the storm. Enki is the water. Together, they form balance, but also friction. For texts discussing Enlil-Enki dynamics, see sources in the video description. This tension reflects the growing complexity of human civilization. Cities competed. Priests debated. Rulers argued. People searched for meaning. And quietly, behind the scenes, the Anunnaki observed, their influence fading slowly as humans began shaping the world on their own. Ending of Part 2. A shift in the ancient world. As Part 2 closes, we stand on the threshold of a world preparing for change. Humanity has risen. Cities have formed. Law has emerged. Kings have ruled. The Great Flood has reshaped everything. And the Anunnaki, once present, once guiding, once walking among humans, now stand further away, not gone, not forgotten, just quieter, watching, waiting, allowing humans to step into their own age. In Part 3, we will follow the deeper mysteries. Why did the Anunnaki withdraw? What happened after the flood? Who were the kings of the Second Age? What do the tablets say about human destiny? And what led to the final separation between heaven and earth? But for now, rest your mind. Let these ancient stories settle quietly, like dust over forgotten temples. Part 2 ends here, softly, calmly, as all ancient things do. Chapter 16. After the waters receded. When the ancient flood finally receded, the world did not return to what it once had been. The tablets describe a landscape washed clean, homes gone, fields erased, temples collapsed into the mud. Only a few survived. And from those survivors, the Second Age of humanity began. The stories of the flood do not focus on destruction. They focus on renewal, on the quiet determination of a world starting again. For detailed sources on the Sumerian flood narratives, see the references in the video description. This was not a loud rebirth. No great fanfare. No miracles shouted from the heavens. Just small communities rebuilding their lives one brick at a time. Humanity learned something profound from the flood, that even the works of the gods could change, and that survival required both strength and wisdom. Still, in these early moments, the Anunnaki were present, watching, guiding, ensuring balance as the world began its slow recovery. But something was different. The divine presence, once close enough to touch, now felt slightly farther away. Chapter 17. The Rebuilding of Civilization. After the flood, the tablets describe a long era of rebuilding. Cities did not rise overnight. It took centuries for the land to recover. Houses were made small at first, simple mud structures among fields of new barley. People learned to irrigate again, to carve canals, to store food, to raise livestock. Communities grew along the riverbanks, and slowly, the first post-flood cities emerged. Kish, Ur, Awan, Hamazi, each city claiming to be the rightful heir of the ancient world before the waters. For historical records of post-flood cities, see references in the video description. The clay tablets show new kings rising, new temples being built, new priests learning the old songs of creation. But something had changed. Where earlier cities were founded with divine presence, post-flood cities felt more human, more fragile, more uncertain. The Anunnaki still played a role, but it was quieter, less visible, like teachers allowing their students to walk on their own. Chapter 18. The New Kings of the Second Age. The Sumerian king list divides history into two great eras, before the flood and after the flood. Before the flood, the rulers were described as divine or semi-divine, beings who lived for thousands of years. After the flood, everything changed. Reign lengths shortened. Hundreds of years became tens of years. Kings looked more human. Their lives were more fragile, their power less absolute. The post-flood kings watched over a world that needed guidance, not domination. According to the tablets, the Anunnaki still granted kingship. But they no longer walked among kings openly. The relationship became symbolic. The king served on behalf of the divine, but the divine remained unseen. For sources on post-flood kingship and the king list, see the description. These rulers were expected to build temples, protect citizens, keep peace, and maintain justice. Their role was not heroic. It was moral, quiet, steady. The world no longer operated under the shimmering aura of the ancient divine age. It had entered the age of human responsibility. Chapter 19. The disappearance of the divine presence. The tablets of the Second Age carry a subtle sadness. References to the Anunnaki begin to fade, where once they intervened directly, teaching, guiding, correcting, protecting, now their presence is felt only through rituals, omens, and dreams. They are not gone, but they have stepped back. This withdrawal is not described as punishment or abandonment. It is described as a shift in cosmic responsibility. The divine realm entrusted humanity with its own destiny. For myths describing divine withdrawal, see the source list in the description. Priests still sang hymns to Enki, Enlil, Ninhursag, and Inanna. Kings still built temples in their honor. And people still pray to them for rain, health, and protection. But the days when the gods walked physically in Eridu were over. The world had changed. A soft line had been drawn between heaven and earth. Chapter 20. The silent separation between heaven and earth. This separation is one of the most profound concepts in Mesopotamian mythology. At first, heaven and earth were intertwined, one realm touching the other like two halves of a single breath. But with time, they drifted apart. The tablets speak of this separation not as a dramatic event, but as a gentle transition. Anu returned to the highest heaven. Enlil embraced the winds. Enki descended to the deep waters. Each deity retreated to their domain. The divine assembly continued, but at a distance. This distance created space for humans to evolve, to build, to learn, to rule, to fail, to rise again. Sources on the heaven-earth separation myths are provided in the description. The Anunnaki did not disappear. They became symbols of wisdom, of justice, of cosmic order. Symbols humans could follow, but no longer depend on. This was the beginning of a new world, a world shaped not by divine hands, but by human ones. Ending of Part 3, the Second Age. As Part 3 concludes, we stand in a transformed world. The flood has washed away the ancient past. Humanity has rebuilt itself. Kings have taken their thrones. Cities have spread across the plains. And the Anunnaki, once close enough to teach humans how to write, how to build, how to read the sky, now stand quietly on the edge of human life, guiding from afar. The world is changing. The gods are withdrawing. Humanity is growing. In Part 4, we will explore the final era of the Anunnaki, the legacy they left behind, the mythic stories of their departure, how later civilizations, Akkad, Babylon, Assyria, reshaped their memory, and the silent echoes that continue into modern time. But for now, Let the ancient world rest quietly in your thoughts. Breathe slowly. Let your mind soften. Part 3 ends. Like all ancient stories do, in silence. Chapter 21, the last era of the Anunnaki. After the flood, as new kings rose and cities slowly expanded, the presence of the Anunnaki continued to fade. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but like stars disappearing as the sun rises. The tablets describe a final era when the gods still guided humanity, yet no longer walked among them. Their voices became symbols, their teachings became rituals, their presence became memory. For ancient sources describing late divine presence, see the references in the video description. In this final age, humans learned something new: to rely on themselves. They built larger cities, they crafted bronze tools, they organized armies, they formed trade networks, and they wrote more than ever before. The world was moving forward, slowly and inevitably. And the Anunnaki watched, not as rulers, but as distant guardians. Chapter 22, Akkad, the empire that rewrote the past. As centuries passed, a powerful new force emerged in the heart of Mesopotamia, a people known as the Akkadians. Their most famous king, Sargon of Akkad, built the first great empire the world had ever seen. When the Akkadians rose, they did something important. They took the Sumerian gods, including the Anunnaki, and reinterpreted them. They did not erase the old myths, they absorbed them. Enlil remained the god of authority. Enki remained the god of wisdom. Inanna, now Ishtar, became the goddess of love and war. But the tone changed. The myths became more structured, more political, more imperial. For sources on Akkadian reinterpretation of Sumerian deities, see the description. Where Sumerian stories were soft, fluid, and symbolic, Akkadian texts were firm and monumental. The Anunnaki transformed from close guides into cosmic figures supporting the new empire's power. This was the beginning of a long transformation. The memory of the Anunnaki was no longer shaped only by the Sumerians. It was shaped by kings. Chapter 23, Babylon, the stars, the gods, and the new myths. Centuries later, another civilization rose on the ruins of the old world. Babylon, a city of astronomers, priests, and storytellers. In Babylon, the Anunnaki changed again. They became part of a new cosmic order based on mathematics, planetary cycles, and star maps. The Babylonians looked upward more than any people before them. Their priests climbed ziggurats to watch the night sky. They measured the movement of Venus, tracked eclipses, and created one of the earliest forms of astrology. Their most sacred text, the Enuma Elish, became the new epic of creation. And within this epic, the Anunnaki appear as judges and witnesses in the cosmic order. For Enuma Elish sources and Babylonian cosmology, see references in the description. The gods were no longer teachers walking through Eridu. They were celestial forces guiding the stars. Humanity had risen high enough that the gods no longer needed to walk among them. The world was ready to walk on its own. Chapter 24, Assyria, the warrior memory of the ancient ones. North of Babylon, another civilization rose, fierce, powerful, shaped by conquest and discipline, Assyria. Here, the gods transformed once again. Assyrians made the Anunnaki symbols of strength, warriors of the divine realm. Carved into palace walls, winged beings with human faces stood guard over doorways. These figures, often misunderstood today, represented protection, wisdom, and power. For sources on Neo-Assyrian protective deities and winged genii, see the description. The Anunnaki had become emblems of authority, guardians of kings, symbols of divine legitimacy. This was far removed from the gentle teachers who guided the earliest fields of Sumer. But this change shows something important. Humanity shapes the gods as much as the gods shape humanity. As civilizations evolve, so do their stories. And the Anunnaki continued to evolve with every new culture. Chapter 25. The Final Departure. Eventually, the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia began to fade. Sumer collapsed, Akkad fractured, Babylon rose and fell. Assyria came and went, each left behind temples, tablets, statues, and broken cities buried under centuries of desert sand. And with their disappearance, the presence of the Anunnaki grew quieter. Not erased, but distant. Like the fading echo of a long-forgotten song. For scholarly views on the decline of Mesopotamian religion, see the description. The last references to the Anunnaki appear in late Babylonian tablets, written by scribes who no longer remembered their original meaning. The gods had retreated to myth, to memory, to story. Humanity had stepped fully into its own age, an age of kings, wars, empires, trade, philosophy, and later, religions that reshaped the world. The Anunnaki remained, but as symbols in a universe that had moved on. Chapter 26. The Echo That Reaches Us. Today. And yet, their story did not disappear. Thousands of years after the last tablet was written, after their temples crumbled, after their cities turned to dust, the name Anunnaki still travels across time. It appears in books, in discussions, in theories, and in the quiet curiosity of those who seek to understand the origins of human civilization. Why? Because the Anunnaki represent something universal. They are the memory of the moment when humanity first looked upward and wondered. They are the echo of our first myths, our first questions, our first understanding of the sky. Whether seen as gods, as symbols, as ancestors, or as mysteries, their story remains. For modern academic interpretations, see references in the description. And now, as we reach the end of this long journey, allow the echoes of this ancient world to fade softly like the last light of a distant star. Breathe slowly. Let your eyes become heavy. Let the story settle like gentle dust over the quiet ruins of forgotten cities. Tonight, you have traveled across 6,000 years of human memory. And now, it is time to rest. Good night.